Let's see if I can hear it. Yep, I hear it. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm John Miglash for the WDMA. And we're going to be talking about brand interaction today. And this is coming from I talked about John Stamell and his recent blog post about email tipping point. And John wrote an excellent reply, which I'll get over here to say. And he said, thanks for covering my recent post about an email tipping point. I completely agree with your comment, as cost per contact is 0. Care per customer is 0. But that's not what I'm saying. So, and it's possible I got it completely wrong. And so then he asks, when has a company asked you about your interests, needs, and perceptions? Further, when have they asked you not just what you do, but why you do it? And if they ask, you respond and they acknowledge, there's the beginning of a relationship. It's also the beginning of the brand becoming a trusted source. Cost is not 0. The care can be shown at scale with the right technology. For example, we have clients who successfully found brand ambassadors through their customers' responses to open-ended questions. When did a brand ever ask you an open-ended question and then respond? Check out, this is his company, Omiji, I guess. It's a different category of collecting customer insights and acting on them to get your emails read. If interested, I'd be happy to demo the platform for you. Okay, so let's take a swing at this. And I appreciate the question. And if you have other questions on marketing or data or direct mail, put them in the comments. I really appreciate that. I'm not doing my daily news show anymore because it just got to be, well, I don't know. I didn't get enough reaction. So now if you react, then we'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. So let's go on. Here's a few case studies about, but first I just wanted, these are companies I did databases for. I have about 33 company turnarounds where we dramatically impacted the valuation of companies. And you can see these are some of the biggest catalog companies in the golden age of catalogs, and also did a lot of consulting for catalog companies. And these are coming in. I forgot that these take a while to go, but anyway, there's a few you probably recognize. And here's some other brands that I've done consulting for. And again, you'll see some name brands there, just a few, right? But I was asked a question. I was asked questions by Amazon long ago. I started buying from Amazon in the late 90s. I was on the phone with them yesterday, and they said, yeah, I go way back. I think 97, 96, 97, something in there. And I remember after being a customer for a couple of years, they sent me a survey, and I thought, cool. And they asked me about the kinds of books. This is back when it was mainly books. They asked me about the kind of books that I read. And I thought, well, what have I bought lately? And I thought, well, I bought Christian books because I read Christian books. A friend just sent me a commentary on the book of Romans just yesterday, and I got my Kindle working again. There were some issues. That's why I was talking to him on the phone. Anyway, and I also read a lot of hunting books, fishing books, and you can see there's fishing supplies over here in the in what I was looking at yesterday, fly equipment. And so I put down, or I thought, okay, well, Christian books and hunting books. That sounds like I can answer those. Well, it turned out there wasn't any Christian category in the question. This wasn't an open-ended question. This was a categorical question. But one of the advantages of categorical questions is that you get some variables that kind of fall out of the process. And so I looked for Christian. That wasn't a category. The best I could come was spiritual, so I put down spiritual. And then I looked for hunting, and there weren't any. There wasn't an option for hunting. So I put down outdoors. And, I thought, well, that'll be interesting to see what they come up with. Now, they could have looked at my purchases, right? And they could have seen that I bought Christian books and hunting books. But instead, they asked me my opinion. And, but, didn't let me write what I wanted. And so I started getting emails about the new releases in vegan meditation and all sorts of other stuff. It was so unbelievable. I for years I blocked all emails from Amazon because they were so opposite of what I was looking for. And so they did try, but it's notoriously difficult to get the questions right and to interpret the answers. And but one of the things I've always been impressed with, and I've shared this before, is that Amazon to this day, because I was looking for fly fishing equipment, and you can see that here's some flies and fly line and fishing lines and goat float, whatever that is. makes wet flies dry flies, I guess, or makes dry flies drier. I don't even know what it is. But when we want to do AI, I had lots of clients who wanted to recommend product, and they thought they could do it with a computer algorithm. I remember once a demo where they were trying to show their product recommendation engine, and a guy bought a pack of cigarettes. This was like it was at a retail environment, like a convenience store, and they were trying to recommend something like real time. He bought a carton of cigarettes, and the demo, this was like live at a big convention, and the demo recommended a jar of mayonnaise. I don't remember the company, thankfully. But Amazon has never really done that. And with, super rich data about what you looked at and what you paused at and what you bought, they don't do it. And, you might think, well, why not? Well, because first of all, when they started, Jim Coogan, my friend Jim Coogan, I'll tag him in this thing. He's worked on and off with Amazon, and I think I found this out from him. But I've had a few other friends who work there, and I have never done consulting for Amazon. Happy to do it, but never have. But when Amazon started out, they wanted a recommendation engine, but instead, they didn't have the computer resources back in the 90s. And so when a new book would come online, when it would, go up, if people just bought that book, then nothing would happen. But if they bought another book with it or other books with it, there were 5 slots that they would keep the first 5 items that were bought along with that book. And that's all they ever said. Customers who bought this also bought. And they never really tried to fix it. I don't know if they still do that simple way. I wouldn't guess so. I would guess they would be a little more, well, like this goat float item is sponsored. So that may be why that's there. I've never heard of it, never looked for it before. I don't know that a lot of people bought it, and this one's sponsored also. So maybe it has to do with who's paying to be seen. But in those days, that's how they did it. Very, very simple. No machine learning or AI algorithm. Just what else did somebody buy it with? And it could have been no connection whatsoever. But it was true that people who bought book A also bought book B. Whatever book B was, didn't matter. They just put it in there. And they weren't trying to say you might also like. And It's still to this day. Customers who bought this item also bought. It's brilliant in its humility, right? And it's why Google is more usable than Bing. Bing tries to guess what you really are searching for. Google decides that it might be several things and gives you a little taste of each. So if you type in Washington, it's a great search test. Is just type the word Washington, and Bing will give you something like Washington State or Washington D.C. or George Washington. Mostly, they've softened that up a little bit lately. But Google has always done that. They'll give you all three, Washington University, all kinds of sort of things. And it just shows you that it's sometimes safer, rather than trying to build a relationship, sometimes it's safer to just say, we're not going to try and predict you. And here's the problem with predicting you. You can't predict you. Try to answer those questions yourself. Try to answer why you decided to buy fly equipment this week. Well, it has to, and I haven't gone fly fishing in, I don't know, 10 years probably. I think about 10 years. My mom passed away. We sold the house on the lake, and I had to dig out the fly rods, and turned out they were all junk. They were all falling apart. I had 5 fly rods. And none of them were worth using. But what happened? Well, my priest, Father John, has taken up fly fishing just now, and he had never done it before, and he really likes it. And I told him that I did it, and I liked his posts on Facebook, and so he invited me to go fly fishing with him. So I thought, well, that would be a high honor, and it would be great. And so I'm getting probably 2 or 3 fly rods back in action, depending on what kind of fishing he wants to do, and we'll give it a go. And it has nothing to do with my brand relationships at all. And that too often is the case. It's something external that you could not predict. I couldn't have predicted it. Maybe I could have a few weeks ago, but I certainly couldn't have predicted it a year ago, because he hadn't even taken it up till last summer. So there you go. Now, ESPN is another one I've talked about in the past, and they ask me my favorite things, and this is not open-ended again. They ask me my favorite teams, and so if you look carefully at this post here, I don't think you will. The Brewers are losing. That's a favorite team. The Bucks are playing tomorrow night. Tottenham, I just haven't taken out yet since Harry Kane got traded to Munich. But Munich is playing later in the week, so they're showing me that. And then they're showing me the NCAA women's. But first I saw that TCU was playing, I don't know who else, Texas. And I thought, TCU? I thought they lost in the March Madness, right? And when I scroll down in my ESPN, and this is after I'm logged in, okay? This isn't just random. This is logged in. I've been an ESPN signed up member for, I don't know, a decade or two, probably. But you scroll down, and here I see UCLA, South Carolina going to Tampa. And UCLA reaches the first Final Four in program history. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. I remember Lou Alcindor, where they banned the dunk in college basketball because he was so good at it. I forgot that this is women's. The picture helps. Doesn't always help. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't. And there's more down below with another team that won the right to play in the Final Four. It's like I can't get rid of it. ESPN should let me tell them sports I don't want to see. And my reason for not wanting to see it has little to do with, how I feel about women. It's just that it's confusing to me. Especially when you're in the middle of the March Madness, and then you've got women's March Madness. And unless you read the fine print, it just throws you off completely into who's winning what. One of the things I found in decades, literally decades of modeling with machine learning was it's easier to predict what people don't like than what they do. And I have maybe I'll put it in the link. I have a video on TikTok and why the TikTok interface is more powerful than Facebook or Instagram or YouTube Shorts, and why it's so predictive. It's not because the algorithms are better, that's what everybody thinks, but it's because the interface is more clear about what you don't like. And basically, nobody asks you what you hate. So I would say to John, that is the powerful, powerful side of prediction of what people like or don't like. But I try to keep track. I call brands, tell them that their flour is the bag doesn't have as much as it says it's in there. Turns out my scale was off. I do interact with brands, and yes, they never interact back. Really never do. Send me a couple of coupons. That's about it. And one of the reasons is that it's not very usable. Cabela's, when we started working with them, and we made a lot of money for Cabela's, and we did a lot of things. One of the great fun things about Cabela's was that they were using RFM, and if you didn't buy from them, if you bought from them, and then they would mail you a catalog a month, roughly, through the year. So let's say you bought fishing this time of year. That would be a good model. March, okay? Well, you'd probably get the turkey hunting catalog come May or June. You might get footwear or camping. Coming around to the fall, you get the archery catalog first, and then you maybe get hunting, and then you get a bunch of hunting, and then you get some fishing around, you get a Christmas thing, and then right after Christmas you might get a fishing. But by then you pretty much have used up your year's worth of all these catalogs. And one of the funny things about the whole thing was that their number one complaint as a customer, Dick Cabela told me this personally. He says, our number one complaint is, why do you send me all these fishing catalogs? Or, why do you send me all these hunting catalogs? Well, we tried using RFM, and this was back when we were just starting out. We really didn't know that much about how these models would actually work in the real world, or if they would work, letting the machine sort of tell us what it thinks. And the first model we did, and we were just new to this, was recency wasn't in the model. It wasn't at the top. It was non-existent. I called my friend Tim Maybe. I'll try to tag him, but I don't think he's on LinkedIn. And he was doing modeling at Neiman Marcus. And he had a PhD in statistics. And I said, Tim, what if there's no recency in a model? He said, it's got to be wrong. It can't possibly be right. Well, and then I started thinking about it. When we were going to do the mailing for late January for fishing, we were looking at the most recent names, and guess what they were buying? Hunting. Because we were pulling them in early December. So RFM, left to its own, which is the way Cabela's was doing it, would skew toward the wrong season, the opposite season. They were mailing the most recent buyers the most, and they were mailing the fishing season buyers. No, they were mailing the most recent buyers, which are the hunters. They were mailing the fishing catalog. And then around in the summer, they were mailing the most recent buyers, the fishermen. They were mailing the hunting catalog. So you have to be really, really careful with this stuff. It's tricky. And that will be my show for today. John, I hope you reply. I hope I answered that a little bit. I probably didn't. I just went off and told stories. That's the way it goes. Have a great day. Like and share. Your friends will know you're smart.